Okay, students. So, in continuation to the previous lecture on the cytoskeleton, we will continue the remaining part that was not completed. And in the previous class, we had talked of the basic cytoskeleton. What is its structure and significance to living systems? What are the common functions of the different type of cytoskeletal proteins? And then we had also completed with the smallest of all the cytoskeletal proteins, that is the microfilaments. Now today we'll be talking about the intermediate filaments and the microtubules. So we'll first take up the intermediate filaments. Now, the intermediate filaments are characterized to be tough protein fibers which are found in higher eukaryotic cells. Now, they have a very tough structures because, first of all, they are different from the other two type of cytoskeletal proteins with respect to cell motility. Right? They do not participate. These are the only cytoskeletal proteins that do not participate in any of the cellular movements, right? But they are, of course, they provide structural support to different cells and different, you can say, different components of living systems. So they are definitely very tough, and their size mostly lies between 8 to 10 nanometer in diameter. Now, the name intermediate, actually it comes because of their moderate size, right? Which lies between the smaller actin filaments and the massive microtubules, right? The microtubules are the largest of the cytoskeletal proteins, whereas the actin filaments or the microfilaments are the smallest. So they have a size, a moderate size between the two extremes. So hence they are named intermediate filaments. In animal cells, they are stable structures which compensate for the absence of cell walls. And now we know that plants and animals, these two eukaryotic cells, they differ from each other with respect to the presence of cell walls. Plant cells are characterized by tough cell walls that provide additional protection to cells, whereas if we talk of animal cells, they are not characterized by cell walls. So it is said that these intermediate filaments, right? They provide that additional support to the plasma membrane or the animal cells that actually compensates for the absence of cell walls. Now they can also be anchored between membranes for extra support. You'll see different structures where you'll see these different type of intermediate filaments being anchored between different membranes and provide additional support there. Now, if we talk of their structure, and in a cross section, the intermediate filaments have a tubular appearance, right? They appear to be like tubes, and each tube is made up of 4 or 5 parallel protofilaments. Okay, I'll show you the diagram also. Uh, okay, right. Now, okay, let's just talk of 1 or 2 more points, then the structure will be more clear to you. So, each tube, they appear to be like tubes, okay? And this tube is actually a pile of 4 to 5, at least 4 to 5 parallel protofilaments, right? These protofilaments are themselves polymeric in nature, and these long polymers, they then together assemble in bundles of 4 to 5 parallel in a parallel fashion and form a tube-like structure that is called the intermediate filaments. And they are comprised of polypeptides from 40 to 130 kilodaltons in size. All intermediate filament proteins have a single common central region of around 310 amino acid residues. I mean, out of all the amino acids that are present in these polypeptides, the central 310 amino acids, 310 amino acid residues, are common in most of the intermediate filaments. Once we'll move ahead, you'll see there are different types and classes of intermediate filaments. So whatever be the type, they have this central region to be common that forms extended helices with short interruptions. The domains at the terminal ends That is, a polypeptide always has an amino and a carboxy terminal, and the remaining amino acid residues that are present at the terminal ends are non-helical, and they vary in size and sequence per type. So the central part basically appears or has a structure representing a helix, whereas the ends are non-helical. Now we'll take a look at the diagram, right? Here you can see, say for example, this is a protofilament. This central structure you will see, it is alpha helical. I mean, the conformation that you'll see will be alpha helical, and the amino and the carboxylic acid terminals, right, they are non-helical. Then of course, each of these protein first of all forms a dimer, right? They are I mean, they are wound around or coiled around each other to form a dimer, and then two dimers are arranged in a staggered fashion, right? And finally, this forms a unit. And then now this is a dimer, and since we have two dimers in this structure, so this is a tetramer, but they are not arranged parallelly, right? They are arranged in a staggered fashion. Okay, this is called a staggered fashion, and this forms a staggered tetramer of two coil dimers, and then these tetramer, right, they again, I mean, they are arranged next to one another. Now this will be more clear to you in this diagram. You can see here, this is a dimer of two, you can say, you mean protofilament, because it has so many polypeptide chains, and then they are coiled around each other, and it contains, I mean, the protofilament itself has a number of, I mean, polypeptides, and together a number of protofilaments, they actually form the intermediate. Any Okay, so let's move ahead. Now we'll talk about the types of intermediate filaments. Now the intermediate filaments are basically characterized into four types: type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. The type 1 in type of intermediate filaments comprises of the acidic, neutral, and the basic keratins with a size of 40 to 70 kilodaltons, and they are found in epidermal derivatives and epithelial cells. Then the type 2 intermediate filaments include vimentin, desmin, cinnamon, glial filaments, and they are found mostly in muscle and glial cells. Then the type 3 intermediate filaments include the neurofilament proteins ranging from 60 to 130 kilodaltons, and they are mostly found in the neurons, hence they are called the neurofilament. And the type 4 include the nuclear lamins, that is, they have a size range of 65 to 75 kilodaltons, and they are mostly found in the nuclear laminae. These are the proteins basically that lie beneath the nuclear membrane and provides strength to it. Okay, so we have four different types of intermediate filaments, right? They are classified into these four types and they contain these different type of proteins which are found in different type of cells. But again, one thing you have to remember that they do not participate in any cellular movement, right? Wherever they are present, they are providing support to those cells, okay, strength to those cells, and this is their function. So now if we take a look at the functions, the main function of intermediate filaments involves mechanical support to the cells. The nucleus is guarded by an intermediate filament mesh network that extends to the cell boundaries. Neurofilaments protect neurons from mechanical damage caused by the animal's movement. Filaments in epithelia, they form a tough network to avoid incursion from external factors. Desmin filaments support sarcomeres in muscle cells, whereas vimentin filaments surround and guard fat cell droplets. So you can see they are not involved in any cellular motility. Wherever they are present, they are just providing structural support. So now we'll talk about the microtubules. Okay, the third and the final type of the cytoskeletal proteins. And these were first observed in exoplasm of myelinated nerve fibers by Robertis and Franke in the year 1953. Microtubules, here we are talking of the animal cells. In plant cells, they were observed in the year 1963 by Ledbetter and Potter. Now, these are found in all eukaryotes, either free in the cytoplasm or form a part of the centriole, cilia, or flagella. Okay, centriole, you'll see it is a characteristic of the plant cells, where once you see we'll talk of cell division, we'll see this will act like the microtubule organizing center. So it is found in centrioles, you'll see their dominance in cilia and flagella. Now, high densities of microtubules are seen in axon and dendrites of nerve cells. Now, if we talk about their structure, these are rigid hollow rods which are approximately 25 nanometer in diameter. Okay, and these are formed of single type of globular protein tubulin. Okay, with a molecular weight of 55 kilodalton. Now, this tubulin that forms these microtubular structures, it contains two dimers, alpha and beta tubulin, each which contains 450 amino acids. Tubulin dimers, they polymerize to form microtubule, and they form this microtubule by, again, they are arranged like protofilaments, and approximately 13 linear protofilaments, they get together around a hollow core and they form this your microtubular structure, or the your this microtubule. Okay, so that is why you can see the number of protofilaments here is more. So that is why the diameter is large, and these are the largest of the cytoskeletal proteins. So is this clear to you? Okay, I'll just show you a diagram also. Yeah, this is a cross section of a microtubule. You can see each of these is a protofilament, right, formed of this dimer of alpha and beta tubulin, and these polymerize to form the microtubule. At least 13 linear protofilaments, they together form the microtubule. Now, the polar structure of microtubules has two ends. One is called the plus end and the other is called the minus end. Now, the plus end is fast growing, whereas the minus end is slow growing. Now, this polarity actually helps determine the direction of movement, right? You'll see these microtubules, they form tracks where you'll see movement of different vesicles from cell center to either cell periphery or cell periphery to cell center. So these plus and minus ends, they generate a polarity, and in association with special proteins called the microtubule motor proteins, right? Any cellular movements can be directed by these, you can say, cytoskeletal microtubules that form tracks track-like structures, you can say, inside the cytosol, and it helps. I mean, according to the presence of the plus end or the minus end directed motor proteins, it helps determine the direction of movement within cells. Now they undergo continuous assembly and disassembly in structure. You've seen that during cell division, right? When the cell is non-dividing, the microtubules are arranged inside the cell to organize all the components of the cell in space, in the cytosol, right? The nucleus, all these are organelles. But when it comes to cell division, that cytoskeletal microtubules, they depolymerize and they take the form of the spindle microtubules, right? So that is why it is said that they can undergo continuous assembly and disassembly in structure. Now, initiation of microtubule assembly is done by gamma tubulin in the centrosome. This is called the third type of the microtubule, right? It is just involved in the initiation of microtubule assembly in the centrosome and does not form any or does not participate in that dimer of alpha and beta tubulin that actually forms the protofilament. So this just initiates their polymerization. So here you can see the plus and the minus n, the alpha and beta tubulin dimer, and of course you can see the dimensions of this microtubular structure. These 13 protofilaments, they are arranged in a hollow core. If you take a look at the cross section, and these polymerize to form the microtubule. Okay, so you'll see at this plus end, which is fast growing, you'll see the tubulin dimers must be associated with GTP, and you'll see once they are depolymerized from the minus n, their conformation or their association is with the GTP, right? So this is the fast growing and this is the slow growing end, called the plus and the minus end, giving polarity to the microtubular structures in order to decide the direction of movement within cells. Then if we talk of their functions, now they determine cell shape, like all other microtubular structures. They determine a variety of cell movements, cell locomotion, intracellular transport of organelles, separation of chromosomes during mitosis. You learn about all these things one by one once you study all these processes in detail. And there you learn that all these cellular movements are actually aided by these microtubular structures only. They determine intrinsic polarity of cells and motility. Of course, they, due to their plus and minus ends, they decide the polarity of cells and thus help in movement from cell interior towards cell exterior or cell exterior to cell interior. They help in the contraction of spindle. I told you they help in chromosome movement and the contraction of the spindle. You'll learn about this in detail once we talk of the mechanism of cell cycle and cell division. But here in this diagram you can see how the organization of the microtubules, it occurs during the formation of spindle fibers. Okay, this is the centrosome containing these two centrioles, right, that acts like the microtubule organizing center, and you can see the polarity. All these microtubular structures have their plus ends towards the cell periphery and the minus ends are always towards this centrosome. Okay, when the cell is not dividing, this centrosome actually duplicates, right, moves to two opposite poles, and again this organization is also duplicated, right? And in the center you will see the different type of two different type of microtubular structures. Ones which are joined to the chromosomes, these are called the kinetochore microtubules, since they are joined to the kinetochore of the chromosomes, that finally have to be separated and distributed to daughter cells during cell division. Then you can see these overlapping polar microtubules. You'll see most of the microtubules, motor proteins associated with them that help cells move these chromatids to the opposite poles. And then these microtubules that are radiating from these centrosomes, right, these are called, they just look like the asters, so they are called microtubules. tubules. Okay, so this is all about the cytoskeleton that we had to discuss. And if you have any questions, please ask. If it is okay with you, please let me know so that we can end the session. Thank you so much.